Are you tired of chunking and thinning chip shots? Watch to the end to make chipping ridiculously easy. You're going to learn what actually causes bad contact around the greens, how to give yourself the biggest margin for error with your chipping. I'll even show you a simple drill to train perfect strike every single time. One point you have to understand: chunked and thinned chip shots occur for the exact same reason. Low point control, the lowest point in the arc of your swing. Picture the pendulum on a grandfather clock. As it's swinging, it reaches the lowest point of its swing. This is our low point. It's exactly the same concept in our chipping, but nearly every single golfer makes the same huge mistake. When they chunk it, they think their low point is before the ball, when in actual reality, on most duff chip shots, the low point is after the ball. Pretty confusing, right? Hear me out. Low point isn't just before and after the golf ball in terms of where you strike the ground. It's how deep the golf club is going vertically at the bottom of its swing. Ooh, that was nice. Imagine my hand is the ground here. Now, as the golf club is coming in, it can hit the ground before the ball, and it might not chunk. The only reason it will chunk is if the golf club dips too deep into the ground by the time it impacts the ball. If you take a perfectly struck chip shot where you've clipped the grass just after the golf ball, and you do nothing else but lower the golf club deeper into the ground vertically, that same chip shot where you do nothing differently will impact the ground before the ball. Bad strikes occur from poor management of the vertical low point of your swing. Remember, if you want to seriously improve your game, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a free video, and comment below with any questions you've got in your golf game. I'd love to help. So low point is king. If you can find the sweet spot vertically between not being too deep under the ground and not being too high up, and you can get it consistently the same every time, you're going to be an incredible chipper of the ball. Let's talk technique. We've got the theory down, it's time to use it. So we know low point needs to be just on the surface of the ground, but we want to maximize the margin for error so that even if you don't get the strike perfect, it's still going to have an incredible result every time. We want the club to be on the ground for a long time. Imagine the arc of your swing to be like a wide U shape. Now, even if we catch the ground a little before the ball, even if we catch it early, with that wide U shape, it never goes very far under the ground. So it stays very close to the surface. So even if you catch the ground early, it's still going to be a decent chip shot. It has a very high margin for error. This is the exact opposite of a steeper swing, which has more of a V shape, where the golf club at the bottom of its arc isn't actually on the ground very long. So if you don't get the contact with the ground perfect every time, you will be punished because the club will go very deep vertically under the turf. To maximize our margin for error, we want a shallow U-shaped swing where the low point goes just under the surface. Here's how it looks. Set up with a narrow stance and weight majority on the left foot to get some steepness. We don't want to be too shallow. Now I'll swing the club with my pivot, allowing the club to work around my body. So it's going to work very low to the ground with the club head as I'm turning and letting the hands work inward and around my body in an arc. This is the opposite of that steeper action where we get the club working much more up and down with less margin for error. You can see how low the golf club is staying relative to the ground, and it's barely brushing the turf. It's not really leaving much of a mark. Imagine you're going to try and draw your pitch shots, letting the club move from the inside and really low to the ground, rather than trying to cut across them and fade your pitch shots. This is when it gets really steep. I've barely taken any turf at all on that shot. It was super shallow. Allowing the club to work low to the ground and around my body helps me to create that U-shaped motion. And this makes chipping so easy because it maximizes margin for error. Keys here are to maintain height. Changes in height during your swing can affect the vertical low point. And we want to stay very centered during our swing, so not too much lateral sideways motion. Very central, moving the club with our pivot as it works around our body. This gives you tremendous margin for error on a standard pitch shot from a pretty standard lie, but it doesn't suit every single grass type. You might find in certain lies, certain scenarios of certain grass types, such as Bermuda grass and Kikuyu grass, where the golf club is going to stick more into the ground, that actually a steeper, more V-shaped action is much more suitable because it's easier to determine the exact point you're going to strike the ground. For 90% of your standard chip shots, that shallow U shape that we're working on here is going to be incredible. Controlling vertical low point depth is vital for great chipping. My favorite drill to train this requires one tee. Pop it in the ground and practice clipping chip shots where you're trying to hit just the ball without hitting the tee. If you can hit nicely struck chip shots without touching the tee or with barely touching it, you're displaying excellent control over your vertical low point. This is a pretty tough drill. See if you can get 3 good strikes in a row and then hit it off the grass. Practice taking tiny divots that just brush the ground. If you can master this, you're on your way to having an incredible short game. Then just try and have that same feeling when you strike the ball. Tiny little brushes on the ground that barely graze the grass. But be mindful that we're not looking for thin chip shots off the bottom of the face. We want to hit it high in the face, so make sure they're nice, cute strikes. Let me know how you get on with this down in the comments. Any questions, pop them down in there. I'm here to help. Remember, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a free video. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and check out the description below for free gifts, all my coaching, and an 8-week practice plan. If you want to learn more about your short game and how to play the toughest shots around the greens, check out this video. Have an incredible day.